What's going on? How you doing tonight, Christopher?
Well, we all survived that big blood moon, and I think right now we're all feeling a little bit expanded in our consciousness, a little bit of woo-woo energy, and people floating around and trying to reassemble our collective thoughts after that expanding, separating energy that we were experiencing with this beautiful, beautiful blood moon.
Yeah, this moon was really powerful. It was very powerful in my life because I mean I was here in we were all here in America. We were able to see it, but I had a really clear view and I was underneath there and there was a lot turning inside of me. There was so much that I felt was being brought up. I felt like this was just the beginning of a lot of transition that we're all about to step into. And I really felt Mars retrograde. I really felt that even though there's so much turning, the actions to take are just somehow fully not there yet, that there's something lacking in action, that especially I think we were able to feel Libra very well on how it does like to feel good, but it doesn't want to maybe move around too much on too many corners or too many sides, you know, and I think that we're all at this place when it comes to what actions to take and really which direction this is all turning. It's maybe a little bit difficult to figure that out, although I think we all know what we want, which makes it a very double-edged sword kind of weird transition. But I feel that the events of this week that we're about to step into are really going to help us understand more of the direction to take, understand a lot of the power in ourselves, and really adhere to more of what we want and what the universe wants out of us as well.
Absolutely. And the thing I was really noticing personally, because in my own personal chart, I have my moon at 15 degrees Aquarius. And I noticed the Aquarian vibe within this full moon, even though it was in the Aries-Libra axis. We had Uranus in Aries, which rules what? Aquarius. And then we had the passage of the moon in Libra, which is in trine to Aquarius. So it was really pulling in, you know, a little bit of the Aries, a little bit of the Libra, but the way it was really manifesting, I think, in a lot of people's lives was in an Aquarian fashion, getting you beyond the idea of me and you and this idea of separateness. So, you know, Aquarius likes to have everybody together, sitting at the same table and breaking bread and sharing and creating harmony. And I really felt, as dire as the negativity was that was going on in the media, I really felt that this full moon did in fact have a very Aquarian and unifying vibe around it.
It definitely did. I feel like we were yearning for connection, and that's really the beauty of Libra. Is no matter what the circumstances are, it doesn't matter what war might be going on or what confrontation or what situation that's life impacting and changing, there's a feeling and a deep need to connect with harmony and peace and balance and beauty. And I felt that's what it was highlighting, is what no matter what we're all going to go through in the next couple months, as we finish a Cardinal cross coming up this week, we come into some more eclipses, and we finish a Mars retrograde, the end result is the feeling that you just described. You know, it's all leading towards what that moon felt like. And I felt the unity. Being outside in the Hollywood Hills, there were hundreds and hundreds of people out to go see that eclipse. And I felt the unity, people holding their loved ones, people out there, and everybody joining in the union of connecting with the heavens, whether they looked at it spiritually or even as a moment of just fun to look at. It's important that we all connect. And I think in our lives it's important for us to make a deeper connection now to what will bring us happiness, what will bring us harmony in our life, and that will mirror us in our identification of who we are correctly. And there's so much that we're finishing up here as we're stepping up into this weekend, as the sun is finishing up in Aries, and we're getting ready for this Cardinal cross, which are, you know, 4 planets or more, all on opposite sides and directions, all squaring off. And this is definitely a week to remember. It's very rare to go through. And I think it's pretty interesting to see that the sun is going to transition from Aries into Taurus for this event, which is a big, different shade of energy. We've been in a lot of fire. I think the universe has really fired up our gears, got us going, but there's going to be some sort of practicality coming with all this. I think that the fire has burned. There's a lot of hotness around, but we need to make something of it. And it's been difficult with Mars retrograde because all this could just be in the ethers, and all this could be in the head, and all this could be in maybe certain feelings. But I think what's about to come down on us is the reality starting to make the changes. And I feel that this weekend is the last weekend to kind of really open up that fire, really try and process a lot, and get prepared here, because we're about to step into that Taurus energy really quick.
Yeah, that definitely is kind of exciting. We've got the sun moving very rapidly, but even more rapidly, I'm watching Mercury as it continues to speed up, and its message right now seems to be, okay, I've had enough Uranus. It was fun. There was good synergy there. We were doing whatever it was that needed to be done, and now it's time to gallop over into an earthy energy and kind of slow myself down and get my communication back into that grounded space. And it's fascinating how all of these things are aligning. So we first have this full moon, and then as we continue forward, we have this cross that is getting. I mean, I saw a thing on the internet today where somebody was saying, "Oh my God, we're all doomed once again," in the activity of what was coming up with this Grand Cross. And then after this Grand Cross, we're of course going to be seeing that beautiful, beautiful solar eclipse where the moon passes in front of the sun for us. So it is a very, very, very charged up 2-week period here, and the issues that came into our mind's eye during this lunar eclipse are now going to be fully recognized in our conscious mind with this solar eclipse, and in that process we're going to have to put together all the elements of this coming Grand Cross.
Yeah, this Grand Cross is very powerful, and it's so interesting you brought up how there are a lot of people who can see this as very doom or gloom. It's a lot like the Tower card in astrology or in tarot. It can be freaky and scary, but really the Tower card is the most powerful card in the deck of change and transformation, and that's how I look at this Grand Cross. But going back to Mercury, I think you're right. Mercury is in the background, and really I think one of the biggest signals of what this whole Grand Cross is about, which is understanding. Our minds wrapping around a lot of understanding of who we are, what we want to manifest. As we're coming into the weekend, as we're finishing up in Aries, the moon is in Sagittarius, and another fire sign. So there's a lot of fire coming into the weekend, and it's in Sag, which is open energy, and it's trining Mercury in Aries. There's this last bit of fire and hurrah. This is also Venus, really in a trine with Jupiter coming into this weekend, really about opening up in these opportunities and relationships and value systems. There's a magic moment as we come into Friday into Saturday as kind of like a final crystallization, I think, of what we want in the ethers, what we are emotionally charged up about, where we're ready to aim and direct our life. But I think as we come into the late weekend, Sunday into Monday, it gets real grounded. It gets real practical. That moon's going to come into Capricorn, hump over Pluto, be part of the big cardinal cross. This is really definitely, you're going to start to feel the effects as we come out of the weekend in Easter. Easter's definitely a time of really powerful shifting, really having to face a lot of our realities. Mercury will be getting closer as well to the sun, and I think that when it comes to trying to figure things out, trying to be practical, trying to step into doing something with all this energy, it comes very intense, because that week that we step into right after the weekend, it is cardinal cross time.
Exactly, and one of the things that we really have to always incorporate is looking at these sextiles, because they are very, very tight, and they are going to be feeding a lot of energy into that Grand Cross. As the moon passes over Pluto, it's going to be first approaching a tight sextile to Neptune in Pisces, and then it's Chiron in Pisces, and then Venus in Pisces. And it's also going to have interaction with Saturn in Scorpio. So we've got all of these sextiling energies, which are very visceral. These are tangible. These are energies that you really feel, and you know, in the most three-dimensional way, because you're going to have these events highlighted in your own personal life. So watching that moon's movement over the weekend, and especially Sunday when it does make contact with Pluto, we're going to see what that grand cross can manifest as in both the negative and the positive way. And of course, we're in a dualistic universe, so every negative has a positive, and every positive has a negative. So it's going to be a fun ride over the weekend, but that gets us prepared for the big event for the coming week.
Yeah, and it's pretty big. I think the weekend is prep. I like how you brought up again that moon on Pluto on Easter. That's also Venus going to be on Chiron. And so this is highlighting a lot in relationship energies, especially because we do have the North Node in Libra. We have Mars retrograding in Libra, and Mars is the activator of this cross. Since coming into this weekend and before the cross happens, we are in a perfect T-square. This is when Pluto and Uranus are making their exact square, which from what this looks like to me, it's going to be happening on that Monday. So, you know, that's already one transit in itself that's crazy, because Pluto, the planet of change and rapid extreme transformation, is coming in a hard aspect with the planet of innovation and also extreme change and radical doing different stories. And so this is putting pressure in our lives very intensely. And it is Mars coming into that 13th degree, which will activate Jupiter, which will activate Uranus, which will activate Pluto. So this, I think, has to deal a lot with relationship energies, really highlighting where especially Venus and Chiron is. There's got to be some sort of healing taking place in relationships. But the downfall of Chiron is kind of the weird aspect that you might feel in your relationships. And so I think that there's kind of a little bit of turbulence, you know, in our flights with relationships, with how we feel deep at our cores. And we are in a sun now in Taurus as we step into this cross, which is about the value of your life. And now that the South Node is out of Taurus, I think that we're cleared for takeoff with really doing what's best for yourself. It can feel a little bit, you know, greedy, Taurus, but really I think Taurus is about enriching yourself in the nature of the best of the best, the quality of the earth, the quality of a spring. This is also the peak of spring that's starting to come up in our lives. So I think there's a lot of flowers trying to grow in our lives, but, you know, there's different parts of the garden it might be on that we are not used to being at. We're not used to maybe tending that side of the garden in our life. And I think a lot of this is about new opportunities, with Jupiter being so stressed as well, and rapid change and transformation and new directions to take. So this is definitely a very rare event to happen, but I really want to look at it as the beautiful flowers blooming in Taurus.
Exactly. It's the sun-moon activity are the bookends, and all of the books in between, all of the different novels, everything from, you know, the Bible and all these ancient, archaic, spiritual writings, right up to, you know, what's coming into manifestation this very moment with some poet in Paris sitting there penning his next thought. In our last conversation, I had mentioned the Sabian symbols, and a bunch of people had a positive reaction and were curious about the Sabian symbols. So I'm going to give you the 4 Sabian symbols that are very, very active in this grand square. And with the Sabian symbols, when we're looking at prediction, when we're looking at projecting into the future, we also read, like if a planet is setting at exactly the degree, then we read that. But if it's like 13 degrees 11 minutes, then we flip over to the 14th degree. And so we've got Uranus at the 14th degree of Aries. And what is Aries? That's our ego. That's our identity. And the thought around that is a serpent encircles a man and a woman in close embrace. Imagine the serpent of life, you know, the Celtic symbol of the circle, the serpent and the circle, eating its own tail, shedding its own skin, growing, expanding, the eternality. And the thought behind this is the power of higher wisdom manifest in the bipolar nature of the human experience. So Uranus sitting in Aries is going to bring us into a state of spiritual awakening, spiritual awareness, and it's going to pull together our own inner masculine and inner feminine energies. So that's how you want to embrace it. That's how you want to envision that. The next degree that comes along is Mars at 14 degrees in Libra, the opposition angle here. And the thought around that is a rich landowner takes a siesta in his tropical gardens. What is this guy doing? He's indulging himself. He's allowing himself to be dependent on those around him. And he has perhaps too much faith that everything is exactly where it's supposed to be, and he can live by exploiting those around him. So we have this polarity going on, exploitation from the ego going on down here in Libra, and the potential for spiritual unification in the sign of Aries. Going across to Jupiter, we have 14 degrees Cancer. An old man alone faces the darkness in the northeast. And this gives us an image of, you know, the old guy in the winter storm, facing into the storm, having the courage to face life, and having that strength to realize that within every winter there's a spring, and within every autumn, you know, there is this process of disintegration, and then as we see summer, we see it all blossom and come into fruition. So the eternality of the human experience is that strong emphasis over here coming to us from Jupiter and Cancer. And then we have Pluto. Boy, Pluto's energy is always, you know, cathartic and revolutionary. And it's at 14 degrees Capricorn, a dense jungle. A perfectly preserved Mayan bas-relief is found, is uncovered. And this is, our human experience has a projection into immortality. It is how we leave our mark on the planet. And, you know, go back and review this video and try to assemble all these images in your mind's eye. And that's what the Sabian symbols do. They give us images of degrees, angles, yada, yada, yada. So synthesize these thoughts, and you'll see how this is going to personally manifest and how you can optimize it.
Yeah, all those symbols to me are very deep. You know, the jungle's very deep. The old man searching in what was it, the northeast?
Northwest, yeah.
Northwest, yeah. So that's very deep. I mean, in his search there. And then I think the Aries Libra stuff, it's deep, but there's something about Aries Libra that's not so deep. You know, like I can't, it always feels very higher and surfacey, and the connection that we have almost with reality. And I think in our lives, as we're bridging these, you know, the Cancer Capricorn energy is very deep emotional stuff, and the Libra Aries stuff is very, you know, identification with this reality and what we connect with and what we don't, and what we want and what we don't want. So I think that this is looking at deeper emotional needs and wants in our life, and whether or not we are making our realities have them and see them. And I think there's a lot of that in there in those symbols. And we have to almost, with Pluto in Capricorn, search the jungle very deeply in our life to find the right path. Because to me, Capricorn is destiny, it is path, it is your end goal. You know, people always look at it as career, but really all career is something that you're going to do till the end of your life. And Capricorn wants to ride that trail. And to me, Pluto, that it just went retrograde, is very important in this cross, because there's some deeper stuff going on underneath the surface of whether or not you're on your correct path or not. And for those that are, because a lot of people that watch this, I think, are on a lot of their path, this is empowerment. This is where the path gets deeper. This is where the right connections start to come in. This is when your emotions really start to open up. This is where fears start to purge. This is where you have to face the end result of a lot of fears as well. A cardinal cross, even when you think that you are the best of the best practitioner, the best prayer, the best ball player, the best of whatever you are, you're going to come into some sort of conflict that will make you even better. And I think that shows and humbles us all through this transit, that we're all not perfect, that we're all not the best of the best, but that we all can be, and that we all are growing, and that we all can face last fears, that we can all search deeper, that we can all have more, that we can all connect better in this reality. Because there's Jupiter stress, needing to explore more. And so to have all these come together, you know, it's a lot like a Monopoly game where all the pieces land on one you know, place, and this is all landing on Boardwalk, and we all have to figure it out. We all have to learn to share. We all have to learn to figure out what to do with this placement in our life. And this is all the pieces on the board really coming into one position to focus on extreme amounts of energy in your life, and it could be all pointed and signaled towards one thing. One thing about this cross is they all look at the middle of Earth, and in your life there could be one central focus point of all this energy, and it's getting very personal, and it's trying to lift it off. And I think that that's what this is about. Mars is retrograde, so this all might happen and you might still not take action, but it will highlight it very well. It will start to create the activity, because on May 20th, when Mars goes direct, I feel that there's so much energy juicing up in this Mars through this process that this Mars direct in May will blow people away. I think it will really activate all this stuff we're going through. And in between these eclipses, like you brought up at the beginning, this is such a sensitive karmic time.
It absolutely is. And one of the things that's really neat, you know, you were talking about the high point of the chart and Capricorn sitting up there, and of course Pluto positioned beautifully there. Beyond our careers, beyond making a living, beyond putting food on the table, there is a deeper sense of what we are leaving as a legacy for our children and our children's children, and for past ancestors as well as for future ancestors. I mean, every step that we take, we're leaving an imprint of some sort. And so perhaps during this full moon, grand cross, new moon cycle, this is a really powerful time for you to personally examine the content of your life and contemplate what it is that you're leaving as a legacy for mankind.
And you deserve the best. That's one thing about Taurus, and Mercury comes into Taurus this week, and the Sun and Mercury start to follow each other, that we kind of end this cross at the end of the week as we're stepping into Thursday, Friday, with clarity, a clarity of what we deserve and the best. And that's really what this is about. On top of that, the moon's going to be through Aquarius through most of this cross, which I think it's interesting you brought up the Aquarian vibe earlier, because it comes in really hard, and really it's about really seeing differently, really trying different things, really being kind of fancy free on your feet. One thing is you got to always be prepared in Aquarius, because you never know what's going to hit, you know, and it's a little bit slippery on the ice in Aquarius too. So there's not much, you know, planting, and it's going to make its big 3/4 square to the sun in Taurus. And this is where, in order to connect, you've got to be in the right energy, and you have to have the right resources. And so when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our jobs, when it comes to our life, when it comes to all these things, Taurus and Aquarius really do test those waters and whether or not you have the right resources or you're connected with the right energy, because if you're not, it won't work out. If you have a relationship where there's no love, that connection can't be there. And Taurus wants to have it, you know, it wants to have the richness, it wants to have the best sheets on the bed, it wants to have the best aspect to your relationship. And Aquarius wants the best of the best of higher intelligent connection and electricity and strength, because these are strong signs squaring off. And the moon and the sun square is a big deal in the middle of this cross, that this is huge emotional awakenings, because to me a big square, the sun and moon, is an emotional you know, moment of, okay, I get it, you know, it's a jolt. And to have the electricity of Aquarius jolt Taurus is the jolt that you can have the best life ever. You can have greater aspects. And it's a price check in your life. I always look at, do you remember that show in the 90s, Price Check, where you went through the grocery store and you checked out and you had to guess the prices and stuff? That's what this is. It's the dash in your life in a very quick week here to be like, okay, what's the price of this? Oh my gosh, yeah, that's cheap. I shouldn't be having this in my life anymore. Maybe I need to be having this. And it's a big price check. With Taurus, comes in checking prices. You know, is this relationship really worth it? Especially with Venus on Chiron. This is highlighting extreme spiritual healing aspects to really make sure that you follow that this week. This is a lot happening.
It absolutely is, and it's going to be fun. You know, I think that that's one of the things when we really start learning how to read the signs that the universe is giving us, is that we arrive at a point where we embrace the thrill of the adventure, because you begin to realize, hey, I plotted the course that the ship is going. You know, I, as part of the collective, we are manifesting this as one. And so then it becomes exciting and dynamic, and then you can fully invest in enthusiastically embracing the interaction of this heavenly dance going on around us. So let's take a look at a couple of cards here.
Wonderful.
First card up. Well, as we move into the weekend, we are going to move into the weekend in a big way. The Emperor climbing to the top of the mountain, looking out over your kingdom, your fiefdom, or whatever it is, and being up there in that airy place where you've got the eagles flying around as your friends and companions, and how cool is that? So really getting that surge of energy, feeling that building of all the different elements through the weekend. It's going to be important to stay grounded. You got to go and look at that earth energy. Look at what Pluto is doing in Capricorn. Keep an anchor on the advance of the sun into Taurus. So it's going to be a good time to do the practical things. Start setting up the garden. Do those outdoor things that you've been wanting to do. Perhaps washing the car, and being able to play outside is going to be a very important theme for this weekend. As we move past Easter into the next week, the potential is here for fruition. This is a 7 of coins. And so, as we're looking around at the garden that we are working on, we're beginning to see the first signs of manifestation. And of course, as we get to that new moon in what sign? Taurus. Look at that earthy energy, the fruit coming to bear on the vine. So we're already starting to contemplate, what is it that we need to do to finalize this next stage of growth in our lives. As the Cardinal cross hits, now I was expecting a much scarier card here, because sometimes you just got to get jolted real good and then you move on. But in fact, we're getting the 8 of Cups. Being able to just, drop it, release it, let go of it, and move on. And this guy has, turned his back on all these past attachments that didn't work. He's following the moon, reflective, part of his subconscious, allowing his spiritual and his intuitive powers to guide him in the next stage of his journey, or her, for those who are hers out there with us tonight. And again, toward the end of the week, a little bit of melancholy coming in, because we've had all this excitement. We've had the sun moving through the fiery energy of Aries. Now it's repositioning itself and toning itself down in Taurus, and we'll probably feel like that fiery part of our life is kind of calming down now. We may have a little bit of an indulgence, thinking about people that were part of our past, people that perhaps transitioned over, that sort of thing. And that's also in keeping with the idea of death and resurrection, which is a big part of the Easter weekend. So rites of passage, contemplating those that we have either left behind or that left us behind in their particular part of their spiritual journey, but perhaps getting into a place where we're meditative and seeking within for the truth that we're really looking for in life.
Wow, I think that kind of goes well with the cross too. That last card there is. You also have the option to either be left outside of the church or walk in it, and I think that's a good way to look at the cross. Like the universe is there to support you, but you're gonna need to do something about it too. Part of this is about doing things. Like we got to do things, and that's the Emperor card at the very beginning. The Emperor got there because he did it. Nobody put the Emperor in the chair. Emperor put himself in the chair, and he did a good job of it. And that's what this Aries energy was about. And the South Node is in Aries is trying to clear the old understanding of who you are and repositioning yourself into a new identification, while finding that new connection to yourself, new partnerships, new lifestyle, new adjustments. And then all those coins you pulled there, that goes so well with all the Taurus stuff, all this, even this cross is in the middle of Taurus. It's really trying to harvest something, because Taurus is the harvest season. This is where you get out, you plant your seeds. You do that. You plant to manifest. That's why it's the house of money. You know, and this can be highlighting money in your life too, and how money works. Maybe a relationship's making your money not work. A job, maybe you're not making enough money here. This is going to highlight so much of the realms and how we utilize manifesting on this earth, and that's what this really is all about, is trying to adjust your life correctly. And if I were to end things here, I would say, especially the way I look at this, is it's the change of earth, it's the change of the guard, it's the change of how we access spirituality. It's the new age really doing the last kind of growing pains to get itself in here. That's the way I've looked at this transit very intensely.
Yeah, this is definitely a major door opener. It's another advance into this evolutionary process. It's taking us into 2015, and then 2021 is going to be a big cycle of shift and transformation. So we're definitely pilgrims, and we are on the road, hopefully, to enlightenment. Those of us who aren't seeking something deeper will probably they'll probably find you know, an oasis along the way and stop and get drunk and sleep with the camels. Who knows? But but
We are pilgrims.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, we have no idea where this is all going to take us. I mean,
well, and it isn't about envisioning, you know, the end. It's about appreciating the journey as it unfolds, and that really is where we're at, is learning how to appreciate and embrace and enjoy the journey that we're all on.
Yeah, and this can be a very beautiful one, because when you get this much energy and it compacts and it comes together, you know what you get? You get diamonds, you know, or more importantly, you get fireworks. And they can be scary. I used to be scared of fireworks when I was a kid. But you know what? There's something magical here that's brewing this week. And it's not over after this week. I think that this is going to continue, but this is a culmination point, that it's like a vortex. The other way to look at this is the way all the planets are positioned. It's like a vortex, and we're in the middle of it. And I think things are going to start vortexing in our life very intensely.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, it's going to be a good ride. And for those of you who get caught in scary situations in this part of the journey, just keep that eye on this new moon coming up in Taurus, and that's when it all collects together and we can sort it all out and get our grounding back. So, and that's what we'll be discussing a week from now.
Yeah, and if you have issues, maybe Epsom salt baths, or go put your feet in the dirt. You know, turn off the noise, you know, because there's going to be a lot of noise and static and the universe shifting signs. Your ears will be ringing, I bet you, through the next week very intensely. Your head might feel a little off. There's going to be a lot of ascension symptoms this week. And I think it's important to ground, and Epsom salt, or, you know, even getting some essential oils and putting it on a little bit. Maybe just putting even a candle around the house, a little glade or something, you know. Get your senses back into reality, you know, and it will help you so much.
It definitely will. And touch the earth and touch the water, you know. Be tactile right now, because that's what we're doing, is we're riding the crest of this magical dance in the sky, but at the same time we are grounded on Mother Earth. So yes, we're going to have a great ride.
Well, thank you, Chris, for doing this. It was awesome. I had a great time, and I think we hit a home run here. I think we definitely did the cross in a great way of describing it, and I can't wait to see you next week, because we'll be talking about that solar eclipse coming up the following week.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic week, and you get out there and rock and roll and have some fun this weekend.
I will, Pilgrim.
See you soon.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, good night.